Okay, so now that our pan is nice and hot, I'm going to go ahead and put in our plantains. And we're going to fry these about 1 to 2 minutes on each side until they get golden and nice and cooked through. So you can see they're starting to change a little bit of color. They're going from this pink color in here to a more golden brown. This shows that they're cooking through and they're not so starchy and raw in the center. So I'm going to start flipping these in a couple of seconds to get the other side nice and golden. And I'm going to let these fry for about 2 more minutes. It's definitely important that you let these fry all the way through because we're not going to cook them much further after this once we start mashing them. So you don't want raw plantain because that does not taste good. And I've gone ahead and put a tray here with a little napkin on there so that I can pop these over here and drain them. So now I'm going to start removing some of these from the pan and putting them over to my napkin lined tray so that they will drain out before I start mashing them. Now I'm going to turn the heat off on my pan. Once this oil is nice and cooled down, I'm going to strain it through a coffee filter and then store it for future frying. So definitely don't dump this. This will be good for at least 2 more fries as long as you strain it out through. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to add in our plantains. And then we are going to add in our garlic. Again, I like a lot of garlic, so this will leave you with garlic breath. I do recommend doing more garlic than you're used to because it'll really taste really good with the fried part of the plantain. I also have, I want to say this is about 3 cups of hot stock, and I'm just going to start slowly pouring that in here. I'm not going to add any salt until the end because salt is something that you can't take out, but you can always add in more. And if you over salt it at the beginning, there's not really much you can do other than finding more plantains and frying them and kind of mixing up the ratio more. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mash this down with my potato masher. Feel free to add in a little bit of more hot stock. I'm using hot stock because the garlic that I'm using is raw, and the hot stock will help cook it down and make everything come together really nicely. And you want to start with a little bit of broth at a time, just like when you do with salt, because you don't know how much you're going to need in the end, and it's always easier to add more and then try to take it out. So you see it's starting to kind of come together like a mashed potato. Some people leave their mofongo a little bit drier. I like mine a lot more creamy, so I do a little bit more broth than most people do, but you can try it whichever way you feel comfortable and test it out. So it's starting to get to the consistency that I like it to be at. So I'm going to start adding a little bit more salt, but first I'm going to taste it. Because I salted this broth when I made it, I want to see what it tastes like with the salt already in it. So always make sure you taste as you go. That's how you know what your final product is going to taste like. Yep, that's pretty delicious. I'm just going to add in a little bit of salt. And then I'm going to taste this one more time. I'm making this for myself, so I'm using the same spoon that I tasted with. But if you're making this for other people, definitely use different spoons. And that's perfect. So now that we've made our mofongo, I'm going to show you how to plate it. Before I plate it, I'm going to give you a little bit of pointers. So mine's a little bit softer, if you can see here. It's kind of like a chunky mashed potato. Some people like theirs a little bit drier, a little bit chunkier, and that's up to you. I like it like this, just because I like that soft consistency. Some traditional things that you could add in here would be chicharron, which is fried pork skin. And what you would do is while you're mashing it with the garlic and the plantains, you would mash in chicharron as well. If you don't have chicharron, but you want some crispiness or pork in there, you could do crumbly bacon, and you can also put a little bit of bacon fat in here as well. Since I don't have those things, I'm just gonna leave it as is. And now I'm gonna show you how to plate. Traditionally, the plating is inside of a wooden mortar and pestle or pilon. I don't have a wooden one. I have this stone one, but I'm not gonna use this stone one because the stone ones are a little bit more porous than the wooden ones. So when you try to push it in here, it'll get stuck into the grooves in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a normal serving bowl and line it with plastic wrap and then flip it out. So what I'm using is basically a salsa bowl, and I'm going to line this salsa bowl with a little bit of plastic wrap. So let me see here. And then I'm just going to put some of the mofongo in here and just kind of line this, push this down with my spoon. Now that I have this lined up here, I've pushed it down. I'm going to flip this onto the plate. If I were using a wooden pilon, what I would do is I would use my spoon to separate the mofongo from the edges of the container so that it would slide out a lot easier. It's kind of like the same concept of when you're baking and you pull it out and you separate the edges from the pan so that you can flip it out. So now here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that there. I'm going to flip that over. You see it's a nice beautiful little mound. I'm going to separate my plastic wrap and kind of use my hands to perk this up more. Now, you could serve it like this and then put, whatever meats or sauces you want around it. That's a beautiful way to do it. Or you could use your spoon here and create a little divot. Like this, and then you could put filling inside of it. So now that we have made our mofongo, the next step would be to do the filling, and the filling would be, stewed shrimp, chicken, something that goes really well with the garlicky flavor of the mofongo. Since I'm not going to eat this right now, I'm going to make this, I'm going to use this for dinner later on. I'm going to kind of put this back into its little pot and put it in the fridge and reheat it later on. If you're going to do the same, when you reheat it, definitely use more stock to give it a nice rehydration and bring back those creamy flavors of the mofongo. If you're going to make this for, an event or something in the future, I don't recommend making it more than 2 days ahead of time. After that, it just kind of loses the softness and the consistency just gets a little funky. So definitely try to eat it as soon as possible. There you go. Please DM me or let me know if you made it and tag me. Thank you.